welcome to Trading Hour on CNBC TV 18. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Surbhi Upadhyay this morning. Well, it's turning out to be a day where we are seeing some amount of a come-off for the markets now. Remember that we have the mid-cap index which has been outperforming, but that has too come off the day's high. At one point in time, it was up around 0.7%. So that's come down to around a 0.5% gain at this point. But separately for the Nifty as well, just about struggling to maintain its head above the water and maintain its head in the green terrain at this point in time. So the Nifty just about higher by around 5 odd points. Bank Nifty up around 0.2% at this point. Lot of stocks to discuss, which we will be doing in the next 60 minutes. We have DHFL, Piramal Enterprises, just to name a few. Hi, Surbhi.
Hi, Ekta. Well, yes, it has been quite a cool-off from the highs of the day. It looked like a market that was just cruising in a northwardly direction. That's definitely turned around because we're pretty much back at the flat line. If you look at where a lot of the selling is coming in, some of the big boys are coming under pressure. Reliance, ITC, Infosys. Some of these stocks are beginning to give up the morning gains fairly early. That's what I'm talking about. RIL already down in negative territory. There's some pressure on Britannia. That's continuing as well. And then Indiabulls Housing Finance. That's the weakest link, actually. One of the weakest links on the Nifty, down almost 2%. So let's see which way this plays. But the fact is that some volatility has come back in as we approach the higher ranges or the higher part of the trading range that we have been in. Well, we'll get you more on the markets as we go forward. For now, the mid-cap index is still holding on to a gain of 0.5%. Right now, it is time to get to a big CNBC TV 18 exclusive. The Godrej Group, which has weathered many storms over a century of its existence as a prime business house, is now in the midst of working differences that have emerged between factions of the Godrej family. Nisha Podar is joining in with these details and the reports that she's picking up. Nisha, okay, this, is not something that perhaps the market was expecting or was aware of. What exactly is happening here?
My job is to tell you what the market doesn't know, isn't it, Surbhi? All right, thanks for that. Yes, sources with direct knowledge, and I have spent last 10 days in meeting a lot of sources and really digging deep into this. There are some working differences which have developed in the Godrej Group right now, is what I gather from sources with direct knowledge. Now, we do gather that two factions have emerged amongst the older generation of the Godrej family. On one side is Jamshed Godrej, who owns Godrej & Boyce, which is an unlisted company. And on the other side are Adi and Nadir Godrej, who own 4 listed entities, which we know of. Now, these two factions have some differences with respect to two aspects. First, the growth strategy of the group going forward. Remember that the next generation has also taken over the mantle in many companies. And the other one, the prized property, which is the Vikhroli land, which is a sprawling property in the suburb of Mumbai, which is 300 acres. So that's a prized property. And the control over that Vikhroli property is one of the contentious points between the two factions. Here I must also note and tell our viewers that Godrej & Boyce owns and controls Vikhroli land parcel, and 1,000 acres of that is developable. But they have an agreement with Godrej Properties, which is with the other faction of the Godrej family members, and they have been jointly developing the properties on that particular land. Now, what I do gather is that, and here comes the big crucial point, that if it was just a difference in the family, it could have been sorted, and now they are looking at a bigger resolution. Probably internal talks have really not fructified. Therefore, some of the big advisors like Nimesh Kampani has been sought help from by Jamshed Godrej, and big banker Uday Kotak has been also roped in from Adi and Nadir Godrej side. Not just that, top corporate lawyers in the country, Zia Modi is on the side of Jamshed Godrej, and Cyril Shroff is on the side of Adi and Nadir Godrej. So these 4 gentlemen are going to really go to the depth of the matter of the differences and try to get a solution which is going to be acceptable to both the sides. So this is where the matter has reached at the moment. Remember, from the Godrej Properties perspective, this particular asset is extremely pricey. What I do gather is that the development as well as the growth and at what speed the growth can be done could be one of the contentious points between the two factions. And in fact, in 2011, they had come up with one particular agreement by way of which 10% of the revenues really will be be going as a fixed income from the side of the development of Vikhroli land to the listed Godrej Properties, and 20% of the amount that they get will be spent in their marketing and design. So that is the kind of agreement that they had worked up. Probably that is also something that needs to be re-looked at. So this is a massive story which is really developing in the Godrej Group, and some of the big advisors are really now working with them to find a solution.
Okay, all right, Nisha. Thanks very much for bringing us all of those exclusive details. Just want to point out, in terms of stocks right now, it is Godrej Properties which is probably taking the maximum hit on the back of this news. So that one is down around 2.5%. Godrej Consumer is just about holding its head above the water, so it's up around 6% and Godrej Industries is just about lower by around 0.8% at this point in time. Thanks, Nisha, for joining in with all of those details. Let's get Sudarshan in with us to discuss the technicals of the market now. Sudarshan, hi, over to you. What are you recommending both for the Nifty as well as in terms of specific stocks, and how do you feel about the entire Godrej space in terms of stocks as well? Any technical check there?
Well, yes. First, the Nifty. I think the Nifty is best avoided. We are in a trading range between 650 and 11,840. Inside that range today is going to be a choppy day, so let it be. Individual stocks keep on offering opportunities. RBL Bank is a buy. That stock has been outperforming and should continue to do so. Siemens is a buy. Siemens has seen a one-way momentum rally on the just up, minor dips, then up again, and again that minor dip is likely to be bought into, so consider buying Siemens. CG Power is a short sell only intraday, just for today. For Godrej Properties or the other group companies, Godrej Properties charts were in any case weakening. So I mean, obviously I can't comment on the news, but that stock was not a buying opportunity anyway. Godrej Industries and Godrej Consumer are buying opportunities on dips, and they should remain so.
Okay, overall, Sudarshan, it's a pretty volatile market. That one-way uptrending move that we had at the open, that obviously has been broken. But at the same time, it's holding on to gains. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Reliance, because for a stock of this size, there was a lot of volatility that hit it as well.
Well, yes, my view on Reliance is that it's likely to be subdued in the next few weeks. Charts suggest that a lot of distribution seems to have taken place at higher levels between 1300 and 1400. So smart money has exited to some extent. The volatility will continue. It's a blue chip. At some lower levels, it becomes a buying opportunity, but for now, it's an avoid.
Okay, all right. Well, Sudarshan, you know, a lot of the pharma stocks are still at fresh 52-week lows or just about hovering at those levels. Sun Pharma is bouncing back today. Dr. Reddy's is bouncing back today. Does that give you any sort of confidence, or are you going to be more stock specific within this space? Is it a general avoid?
No, pharma is a general avoid. It's been a very big disappointment. I was upbeat and that didn't work out. After a small rally last year, pharma has been just one side or down. You know, Sun Pharma is giving some momentum. It's a short-term trade, but then it doesn't give enough confidence to say that pharma is looking up. We should avoid the sector generally.
Okay, all right, Sudarshan, thank you very much for that. We'll get back with the market calls in just a bit, but right now let's just focus on a couple of stocks that are also catching the attention this morning. DHFL continues to be under pressure. In fact, let's just see where the stock is trending now. We're looking at about a 1.5% downtick. So from that big gap that it had it open, from there it's recovered. Nonetheless, it's still negative, as is the news, because there's been yet another default. They were supposed to pay up money to certain mutual funds yesterday. All the payment did not go through. We have more details. Abhishek?
Well, Surbi, for a second time in a month, you know, DHFL has defaulted. This time, the default is on its commercial papers. So there were about 375 crore of dues on the commercial papers yesterday, out of which they have made a payment of up to 150 crore or 40% of the same. The remaining 225 crore, the management believes that they will pay over the next couple of days. Just to alert our viewers, this is the second time in last 1 month that they have defaulted. Last Last time they defaulted on the NCDs and this time on the commercial papers, and rating agencies have already downgraded their credit rating on the company to D. The management has also mentioned that company is in the process of selling its project loans to actually meet or honor its payments, and they believe that they will honor all their obligations to all the creditors and maintain their 100% repayment history that they have been from September to now. Back to you.
Okay, all right. But Abhishek, thanks very much for that. So that's on DHFL. Stock is significantly recovered after that downtick that we saw earlier in the day. But we have Reliance Infra, which is in focus as well. That stock is higher. The stock is an F&O ban and is perhaps seeing some amount of short covering. But apart from that, there were a couple of news reports with regards to a couple of orders for the company. Anisha joins in with more details. Anisha.
There is no positive fundamental news to really back this kind of up move because yes, there are newspaper reports today suggesting how the company has been appointed the project developer for the Versova Bandra Ceiling project, but that is not fresh news because do remember that the company was already announced the lowest bidder and was given the order last year itself. In fact, the company had gone ahead and submitted all bank guarantees and other documents and formalities that were needed last year itself. So yesterday there has been a formalization to it and they have been formally announced as the project developer, but I don't see it as a major positive. Yes, there are a bit of rumors going around that maybe given the recent financial performance of the company and the rating action, maybe the MCRDC might look at retendering this award, but that has not happened. Separately, there's another news flow that talks about how the company has depledged its holding, but do remember there also they have depledged just 0.07% equity. So versus 31.8% that was pledged earlier, now the pledge holding is at around 31.7, and that too is not a very significant uptick. Apart from that, last week as well we had got some negative news wherein India Ratings had downgraded the rating to a D, issuer not cooperating category, and that too was not very positive. So over the last 1 week or so we haven't heard any incremental fresh news, but the stock has been in a world of its own.
5 rupees, 6 rupees stock right now. Let's see how this plays out. Thanks, Anisha, for putting that in context and perspective for us. Speaking of rating downgrades, well, they sort of are all over the place these days. And we have seen ICRA take some action on some portion of Edelweiss's debt. And also there's a downgrade on Piramal Enterprises. Let's get back to Abhishek to understand what's happened here. Abhishek?
Well, ICRA has maintained rating on the CPs as well as short-term NCDs of Edelweiss. They have withdrawn ratings on the entire portfolio of rating that they did. However, they have, downgraded the rating on long-term NCDs by a single notch to AA- from AA. Now, the ratings on these three instruments, that is commercial paper as well as subordinated, the short-term NCDs and the long-term NCDs have been withdrawn on request of Edelweiss. Coming on to Piramal, ICRA has downgraded rating on Piramal Capital and Housing Finance Limited. Now we have been seeing rating agencies coming hard on anyone or any HFC having exposure to the wholesale side of their lending or the corporate side or to developers. So rating downgrades have taken place for Piramal Capital to AA from AA plus. NCDs worth 6,545 crores, subordinated debt of 1,500 crores, long-term fund based of 2,900 odd crores and 9,950 crores of another long-term base. So in total, close to 20,900 crores of liabilities have been downgraded by ICRA. However, ICRA has maintained the rating of A1 plus on the commercial papers of Piramal of about 9,000 crores. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Abhishek, for that. So DHFL, Rel Infra, Edelweiss, Piramal Enterprises are a couple of the stocks that we're tracking this morning. For the markets as a whole, we have the Nifty, which is hovering above 11,800. So that's managing to maintain those levels. Mid-cap index also clawing back, now close to the high point of the day. We have a positive advance decline ratio on our hands as well. Take a break, but up next, we'll discuss what's buzzing in the